I'm going to be very somber this morning.
Why?
Because there's going to be too much Wawulans on the show. So joining us now is Ojinika Jinix Okwe, the chief of Umukwata.
How somber was that?
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, TGIF. Happy Friday. Good morning, Ayomide. Good morning, Professor Killer. What a Wawulans interview you guys had with Senator Natasha Akpabio. I was actually watching it standing, basically. I was sitting and then I had to leave everything else I was doing because it was really intense. And what really got me was, you know, all of the accusations of harassment. And I just want to play up a clip that has already gone viral. Here is Senator Natasha Akpabio accusing Senate President Akpabio of harassment.
Many people do not know what I'm about to say, but I'm going to speak my own truth. And the Senate President is allowed to counter that. We're in his house in the Kotekpene. Then we all moved to his house in Uyu, which was about 8 p.m. And he held my hand and said he wanted to show me around his house. My husband was walking behind us, just 3 of us. We're walking around from room to room. And then he got to this particular sitting room and he said, "Do you like my house?" I said, "Of course, sir. Every room, beautiful, nice interior, quality taste." He said, "Now that you're a senator, I'm going to create a time for us to come spend quality moments here. You will enjoy it." At that point, I just pulled away and I was like, I don't really understand what exactly that meant. He then said, "Natasha, I'm the chief presiding officer of the Senate. You can enjoy a whole lot if you take care of me and make me happy." At that point, I said, "Sir, I'll pretend that I didn't hear this." He said, "Well, the ball is in your court."
All right. Ayo, my essay. I mean, that was quite intense. And it's just really heartbreaking to hear such, accusation made on, the number 3 man in Nigeria. I mean, this is not the first time we're hearing, these sort of accusations of harassment. And I'm glad Natasha Akpabio, has given him the floor to respond because, again, it's a huge allegation.
Let me say, first of all, absolutely spot on that the Senate President does, and I don't think he should send, this is bigger than sending people to come and speak on his behalf. I think he does have a duty to Nigerians whom he served and who have entrusted their votes in him, especially his senatorial district, to come out and really address, because it's now becoming a bit too much. Yes. I have a headline in front of me from 2020, July 13, 2020, by The Cable, which says, "I slapped Akpabio for sexually harassing me, ex-NDDC MD Joy Nuniem." Now, this is not the first time a high-ranking woman has come out to make such an allegation. It's still an allegation, and of course, he's innocent until proven otherwise. Now, when we talk about this, let me talk about the bigger issue around sexual harassment and victimization. We often talk about having more women in politics, women's voices being heard. But how can you welcome women into a toxic environment if they feel that if they are there, what they would have to be victimized, sexualized, as we saw in that statement by Inform Patrick. Their intelligence will be questioned. Whenever they rise to any height, it will be said it's because they slept their way through it. You see an appointment, you see a beautiful woman, you're saying, "Oh, she must have done something." These are the sort of things that validate those rumors and those unfortunate comments like that. We also had the APC woman leader come, and I thought her statements were a bit disappointing, because when you're talking about women's rights and protecting women, the first thing you want to do to a woman who makes such a grave allegation is to listen and then ask that the person who's been accused comes out to defend himself, especially when it's not the first time. We need to protect our women. We need to protect our young girls. And I say this because it happens in institutions. Remember the sex for grades scandal that broke out, that changed policy in university?
Absolutely.
Women are, let me speak now as a woman. Women face this on a daily basis. And oftentimes when we are bold enough to come out to speak about this, we are accused of sensationalization or intimidation, blackmail. The first thing a woman wants is for her voice to be heard so that other women who face this discrimination and victimization can come out to also speak as well.
Absolutely.
You want more women in politics, make it safe for them to be in politics.
Absolutely.
But Senator Akpabio has a right to come out and defend himself.
Senator Akpabio has a right absolutely to come and defend himself. And very well said, Ayo, because this is what we were talking about, during the course of our interview about this crisis rocking the House. I mean, we've called for legislation to back women. And, there were so many comments that were made in the interview, like, the princess of the Senate, and, things like the nightclub incident. Those are not the kind of things that we need to hear right now. I mean, we need some more answers, and we hope we get a robust response from the President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio. Let's now take reactions to the crisis rocking the Lagos State House of Assembly after it took a new dimension when ousted Speaker Mudashiru Obasa stormed the House and declared himself substantive Speaker. Obasa arrived at the Assembly on Thursday with an arms load of security personnel, just as security personnel attached to his successor, Mojisola Meranda, were withdrawn.
I'm here. So as I'm here, it simply means the House is on. I've never been removed. There's nothing like impeachment. So I don't know what you are saying. I've said this openly.
Sir.
That everybody, remove, what is it called? Impeachment or whatever, or removing is not democratic and constitutional. But in doing that, to achieve that, you must follow the due process.
So what's next?
Obasa is the Speaker.
Follow due process. Ayo, I really enjoyed your opening remarks, how you read out the Constitution, and it was clear that the House did follow due process. Meanwhile, members of the Lagos State House of Assembly have rejected Mudashiru Obasa as Speaker, reaffirming their support for Mojisola Meranda. Speaking to journalists at the Assembly complex on Thursday, the lawmakers dismissed Obasa's claim to the position, insisting that Meranda remains the legitimate leader of the House.
We are shocked to see what is happening, despite the fact that this is Lagos. This is the center of excellence. This is where everything starts and it stops. We've been law-abiding. We've not gone out of our way. We've not done anything against the state or against anybody. But we also want to be respected, to be given our dignity, to be shown that we were elected. So I'm appealing to the leadership of our party that we cannot continue this way. We were embarrassed. So thank you, gentlemen.
We hereby reject Obasa. We reject Obasa.
All right. They have rejected Obasa, but we did see that video, that viral video that was trending, where the former Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Obasa, stormed into the Assembly complex with armed police officers and civil defense personnel on Thursday. Let's take a look at that video before we come back for a discussion. Actor, Professor Killer, I've never seen you crack up so much. What was that, Rufai? I read a comment. Somebody said Mudashiru Obasa, the Donald Trump of Lagos State. I mean, I thought that was hilarious. What was that?
Oji, that was the saddest day.
Yes.
In the same state, you had LKJ, Ron, Lateef Kayode Jakonde. That was the saddest day in the center of excellence. A day we should weep. A day hegemony and disrespect for rule of law. One point you did not make, apart from reading what the Constitution said, is the fact that Obasa had gone to court to challenge the way it was removed. So when you go to a court case, do you take laws into your hands after going to court? Please, you might correct me, I might be wrong. I don't know, has that case been withdrawn?
No, it hasn't.
So when you go to
He actually
court...
claimed that there is no case. When I
So
was listening, he said, what case are you talking about?
Court,
That's what he said.
and you say you want to seek redress, and you still take laws into your hands. And these are the same people that say we should trust the judiciary. So if a speaker and a lawyer in the temple of justice cannot trust the judiciary to resolve an impasse, and he takes the institutional paraphernalia, the police, and invades the hollow chamber and goes in there and calls himself speaker, when the speaker security aid was taken away, then it's a day to cry for Lagos. I wish I had buckets I will donate buckets, and please, we should donate tears. It is finished as regards any sensible, sane disposition to democracy in Lagos. And this is what an hegemony will cause. Those high up there should lie that they don't know about it. The police should lie that all of a sudden saying they should go on an audit was the way forward. Those high up there should lie that they don't know that Obasa was going to do this. The members of their inner caucus should lie that they don't know this was going to happen. This was to end the script they had been playing, frustrating Miranda, another woman. Only to think Natasha had her account. Miranda is going through this, and it's International Women's Month. So you can see how women are being treated in politics. And that's why when somebody says women representation has increased under this government, no, it's a fallacy, it's a lie. Nigeria, in fact, ranks the lowest, 4.4%, according to the Plaque studies. So that's the Lagos for you. The only part that is not gelling, let me use street language in the conversation, is that they think that normally, once they see Baba Sokpe, all the lawmakers were aligned. But today, kudos to those lawmakers.
No,
they are
Baba
taking a lot of risk. They are saying no Baba Sokpe.
All right.
And Oji, this is after 10 years of serving as speaker. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
Obasa probably will be one of the longest speaker in Lagos.
For Lagos State, I think so. That's
So after serving for 10 years, it's not still enough. He never do.
never do.
So we will now resort to motor park tactics. You know when they say, "Ija to fek gba garage kuto, ija garage."
Yeah.
That's exactly motor park garage fights.
Motor Park Garage.
This is one
Before I come to
installment.
you,
Let's
Professor
continue
Kila.
fooling ourselves.
Before I come to you, meanwhile, former Vice President Atiku Abubakar has criticized President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for his perceived silence on the Lagos State House of Assembly crisis, describing it as an endorsement of anti-democratic tactics. In a statement signed by his media aide, Paul Ibe, Atiku condemned the use of state-backed security forces to reverse the removal of former Speaker Mudashiru Basa, despite his impeachment by an overwhelming majority. His statement reads in part, Lagos speakership crisis, a betrayal of democracy, throwback to military dictatorship. Despite his undisputed influence over Lagos politics, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has remained conspicuously silent on the matter. His refusal to address the crisis suggests a tactic endorsement of the anti-democratic maneuvers aimed at imposing his preferred candidate against the overwhelming will of assembly members. This silence is deafening and deeply concerning. As Malam El-Rufai rightly pointed out, Lagos politics has become a battleground between the noble values of Omoluabi rooted in integrity, fairness, and public service, and the crass, strong-arm tactics of area boys politics, where power is retained through coercion rather than consensus. Nigeria's democracy was hard-fought and must not be undermined by those who should be its foremost guardians. We call on President Tinubu to publicly denounce any attempt to subvert the democratic process in Lagos and ensure that the principles of fairness, justice, and due process prevail. What happened at the Lagos State House of Assembly today is nothing short of an assault on democracy and a throwback to the days of military dictatorship. We urge all well-meaning Nigerians to remain vigilant and resolute in defending the sanctity of our democratic institution, and that is the powerful voice of opposition at this point. But I was reading through this day, and I saw reports that President Tinubu was said to have expressed his displeasure with the development because he was not informed about the plot to remove the speaker. President Tinubu also drew attention of the GAC to the political imbalance created by the removal of Obasa and the emergence of Miranda, whom is from the same Lagos Central District with the state governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, thereby altering an equitable political structure in the state. Tinubu was also said to have demanded that the status quo be maintained while a political solution was being restored to the leadership crisis in the assembly. And that is a report that we have there saying that Tinubu had put his voice in this matter as well.
Well, there are three things here.
Yeah.
Atiku's voice, whether I came for Polybia or directly from him, is a legitimate position.
Yes.
You know, that is opposition calling out the government of the day to say this is what we want to do. We can judge his intention. Maybe he's playing politics, but then he's a politician. He's saying, why is a footballer playing football?
Absolutely.
He's a footballer. So the question is, what he's saying, is it true? Is it logical? That it is true and logical, that makes sense. But it must also be said that whatever happens, if Tinubu had acted immediately and clearly, people like me will have come out to accuse him of not being a federalist, of being up there and intervening in Lagos. So it's a lose-lose situation for him.
Right.
But one thing that is clear, and again, I indict the president directly for one thing, the Lagos we have shared together with him being high up there, me minding my business, for so long, is coming out to be a Lagos that is not structured, that is not disciplined, that lacks decorum, and that lacks leadership. It is a Lagos in which, if Tinubu is in Abuja, the GAC cannot manage it, the governor cannot manage it, the assemblymen cannot manage it, assemblymen and women cannot manage it, the speaker is doing a one-man riot, we don't know where they stand. I think the assemblymen, and here I disagree with Professor Seni, they're overrated. We cannot find lone voices with personality, with clarity of where they stand. They're like a pack of buttons that are being pushed. We need to know in knowledge and conscience with articulate position where they stand on issues. They're doing a joint thing and they're standing, but that is them. Even this speaker, I don't understand him. You have how many members? Over 90% of them say they don't want you. Whether they're being influenced or not, I don't know how you're going to manage it. Because they, formally or informally, symbolically or substantially, they elected you. The same people that elected you say they don't want you, you say you want to be there. This is like a case of a politician who loses the election and he says, if you don't like me, leave this country. I mean, I don't get it.
I absolutely agree with Atiku's statement. However, I believe that we must elevate our politics to the level where we practice true federalism. Every time, and this is what we propagate, whenever anything happens in the state, we call on the president to come and intervene. As what? As who? Are they not independent? Do we not have separation of powers? Is the federal system of government not federal, state and local? But the moment we keep asking the president to come into and wade into every situation, then we simplify or we make nonsense of the process or the spirit of federalism. Yes, I agree. Currently, it's an imperfect system, so yes, that's why they're calling for him, because he also intervened in the Rivers crisis.
Yes.
And this is his state. This is where he has the structures. And so people imagine that your silence is actually saying something, because his silence is actually speaking, that he's aligning with a particular, particular person. But I'm hoping that we'll elevate our politics to the level where we can actually self-govern, and it's not what they say about Baba Sokme, or you're waiting for someone from the center to give an order. And that's why someone said earlier today that the big man is the law in Nigeria. We have the rule of law, and yet we're asking or saying that because a principal did not hear about a process, we should end the process. Yes. When there's a procedure. I mean, we shouldn't be talking about things like that. Right. May we elevate our politics in Nigeria?
Let me just take a tweet to balance off what you have said. This is from Peter, who wrote, on paper, Nigeria is a democracy. In reality, it functions as a presidentocracy. Government of the president, by the president, and for the president. Our institutions have been badly weakened to the extent that political issues are entirely deferred to the president, as we saw it happen in Rivers State. Now, predictably, all eyes turn to the president for resolution in Lagos State. Presidentocracy rules supreme. And as Rufai said, that is absolutely apt, really. Well, all right, shall we now take our next story? Nigerian passengers aboard an Air France flight have been left stranded in Lomé, Togo, after their flight from Paris to Abuja was diverted due to bad weather. The Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, raised the alarm in a statement on his official X account on Thursday night. Keyamo posted a video showing the stranded passengers in Lomé and expressed concern over the airline's handling of the situation. Let's take a look at that video before we take Keyamo's tweet. This is such an unfortunate incident. Let me just read Keyamu's tweet because he detailed it. He said, I have been alerted of a situation involving mostly Nigerian passengers left stranded at Lomé, Togo by Air France. I am told that the flight from Paris bound for Abuja could not land due to bad weather in Abuja this evening. The flight then diverted to Lomé. However, the confounding situation now is that instead of bringing the passengers back to Abuja after the storm subsided, there are plans to leave them in Lomé till tomorrow, even when that same flight will return to Abuja tonight to pick passengers. After directing my director of air transport management to call the country manager of Air France, I also personally called Air France Nigeria a few minutes ago and insisted that those passengers must be brought back to Abuja tonight or be treated in line with the best international standards if they must sleep in Lomé. I mean, this is a working minister, and we've always hailed Keyamo for this, and I'm glad with this intervention, but how dare they? They want to come to Nigeria, but you decide to leave Nigerian passengers. I mean, Rufai, a quick comment. This is uncalled for.
Spot on and kudos to Keyamo.
Keyamo,
We're
yes.
seeing people standing up to fight them. I think most importantly,
Yes.
what we should now do is we must be able to call those authorities, the Air France authority and everything, to a meeting and give them very stern warning after this. I hope the situation has been resolved in the first place. I would like to know what happened.
We haven't gotten an update yet, but it was good that we had to highlight
this. We must be
this.
able to give them very stern warning.
Absolutely.
And sanctions must be meted out where they are found wanted.
Well
This
said.
should never happen to Nigerians. And kudos that we have somebody speaking for us like Keyamo.
Well said, Rufai. We'll take another story now. Following the spate of kidnappings in Nigeria, another youth corps member, Rafiat Lawal, was kidnapped along the Benin-Ore Expressway while returning to her place of primary assignment in Oyo State. Lawal's sister claims that the driver of the vehicle handed her over to the abductors. A friend of the victim revealed the news on social media, saying that the kidnappers are demanding a ransom of 20 million naira and appealed to Nigerians for assistance, saying that the Lawal family cannot afford the ransom and that efforts to get help from NYSC have so far been unsuccessful. Ayo, you know I'm coming to you with the story. This is not the first time that we're hearing this, and I know that you still have your friend, who was an NYSC member, still in captivity after paying 5 million naira. We see the Lawal family now appealing to Nigerians for 20 million naira for the release of their daughter.
It's very sad, and like I said earlier, it's become an industry. Yesterday made it 1 week since the poor girl, young girl, who went to serve her nation in Port Harcourt. Now, so linking it to Rafiat now, because now we see, and I said it, that if NYSC cannot protect our young people, then let's scrap the system or suspend it until we get our security acts together. It is unfair for a parent or guardian or family member to let their children go and serve the nation, and then this is what the fate that befalls them. You send them, and then you are called that your child or your ward has been kidnapped, and you should produce money that you've probably never seen in your entire life. 20 million naira for what? And what's more is that when you report to the security agencies, the report is that they don't do anything about it. So it's almost become the norm where it's not a big deal anymore.
Unforgivable.
So until we make noise, we make noise about the leader of the Afenifere youth, that's when the police.
That's when the police.
They said, why must we raise awareness about people's safety in Nigeria? Why can't I, as an ordinary citizen, walk into a police station or call the emergency numbers and get a solution? We have an emergency on our hands, and Nigerians, we cannot continue to raise ransom to fund this illegal and illicit industry.
Absolutely.
We need to call the security agencies to rise up and take on their responsibility and take care of our girls.
Yes, just wanted to let the Lawal family know that we are here and we are campaigning for the security operatives to go get Rafiat alive.
And we don't have any updates yet on the Afenifere youth leader.
Yes.
I just hope he's not been killed.
We hope he's not been killed. But the IGP sent out a note that he has sent out forces
he has sent out people because what the kidnapper said was that by Monday, 3 p.m., if nothing was done, they will strike. I just hope it's safe. And I pray for him and his family at this point in time.
Well said. We hope that they bring all our kidnapped victims back home alive. Well, let's now head over to Anambra State, where the governor of the state, Charles Chukwuma Soludo, has reaffirmed his commitment to restoring societal values built on hard work and legitimacy in the wake of his administration's ban on native doctor practices. On Tuesday, a group of native doctors took to the streets in protest over the ban on their practices, insisting that the ban is unjust and threatens their livelihood. The governor, in response, argued that there is a difference between African traditional religion and what the new generation of native doctors are practicing. Soludo made the comment in a video posted on TikTok, emphasizing the need to uphold virtue and integrity as the foundation of sustainable wealth creation, adding that abominable acts will leave Anambra State. I mean, this, I want to actually say kudos to the Anambra State governor for this, because we have seen, I am sorry, Rufai, ritual killings. This is his own grouse with the whole practice. We've seen that these sort of practices go hand in hand sometimes with ritual killings. And again, he did mention that African traditional medicine is different from what he's talking about, because I know that you raised the concern about, women that nurse children or help with delivery and all of that, and but you've spoken. I'd like for Professor Anthony Killer to speak, please, before I come to you.
Well, I think, very quick line. Governor Soludo says he's not attacking African religion.
He's not attacking African religion. That's what he said.
And maybe what would be good for him to pinpoint the exact crime, not the practice, not the profession.
Yes.
He should say something like, let's not kill people for rituals.
Yes.
Not to say, let's not do native doctors. I mean, if people are willing, if they're gullible enough to go to native doctors, we either educate them against it, but we should not allow people to stop people from making money if they're not committing any crime.
Okay.
Native doctors, magicians, seducers, anything you want to be, as long as you're not caught in seducing specific crimes, I think they should be allowed to do what they're doing.
Like I said, they have an association. Rufai, go ahead.
Generalization the governor is making. Not all native doctors do ritual killing.
Well, he specified, I said.
No, not all native doctors. And ritual killing is a crime on its own.
Right.
It's not about native doctors. Please, let us respect our African traditional institutions. That's what we are saying here. So you cannot have a right to now legislate on this, please. You can, ritual killing, when it happens, it's a crime. You deal with it like a criminal case.
Right.
Leave native doctors out of this.
All right.
I'm speaking and I stand with them on this.
You stand with the native doctors.
Yes.
Well, all right. I stand, Ayo is laughing. I stand with Soludo saying that if you really have powers if you have powers to escape from the prison, please go ahead. We will arrest you if you commit those sort of nonsense ritual killings and all of that. That's why he said, we will arrest you, and if you have powers, escape from prison. Well, let's now highlight key moments of UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer's meeting with US President Donald Trump during his first visit to the White House. Well, on Thursday, the pair took questions from reporters before and after their press conference. Partway through their opening remarks, Starmer handed a surprise letter to Trump from King Charles.
It is my pleasure to bring from His Majesty the King a letter. He sends his best wishes and his regards, of course, but he also asked me to bear this letter and bring it to you. So can I present the letter from the King to you?
Thank you very much. Am I supposed to read it right now?
Yeah, please do. It's an invitation for a second state visit. This is really special. This has never happened before. This is unprecedented. And I think that just symbolises the strength of the relationship between us. So this is a very special letter. I think the last state visit was a tremendous success.
Prime Minister Starmer, you've been terrific in our discussions. You're a very tough negotiator, however. I'm not sure I like that, but that's okay. Very, very special person. What a beautiful accent. I would have been president 20 years ago if I had that accent. Thank you very much.
All right, that was a beautiful moment with Trump and Keir Starmer. I wish we had time to discuss this because there was a funny moment as well. Well, I'd love to thank you all for your great analysis, as always, on What's Trending. You all have a great weekend. Well, that's all I have for you guys on What's Trending today. I'll see you all tomorrow.
You will be the first to be notified. See you on the next one.